Good morning. I grew up in a Christian home, going to church on Sundays, but it wasn't until around the age of 10 that I asked Jesus into my life. It was during a week at Nest Lake Bible Camp. I don't know if the message I heard was new to me or told in a different way, but it was at that point that I realized that a Christian life is more than just doing Christian things. It's about growing in a relationship with God. The verse John 1:12 stood out to me at that time. Yet to all who received him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Looking back, I am thankful for God's protection in my life in ways that I didn't always acknowledge or appreciate. I have 2 loving parents, a great family, and cannot remember a time that I did not have strong Christian friends to support me in my walk with him. Now I'm married to a man that also desires to seek Jesus, and I am blessed with a job that I am passionate about. However, as much as I like to think at times that I'm responsible for who I am today, I know that it is only by God's grace. Unfortunately, I can say that I have allowed too much of my life to be dictated by fear. Fear of change, of the unknown, of loss of things I consider valuable, and sometimes even fear of God, because ultimately he has more control over any of these things than I do. Nothing has forced me to face my fears more than our journey to parenthood, a journey that has included uncertainty and loss. At a time in our marriage where Steve and I were feeling confident in where we had gotten ourselves, we went through things that we had no control over and have needed to rely only on God. During times that I would have predicted myself to be angry with God, I found him to be my greatest comfort. And when I was angry at those who didn't seem to understand, I felt God telling me that it was okay and that he understood. Over time, I found a closeness with God that I haven't experienced before. Throughout our pregnancy with our son Benjamin, I at times felt nearly overcome by fear, and too often became dependent on medical confirmation that things were going okay. However, encouragement from doctors or those around me only lasted for so long, and the only true and lasting hope I found was in our God, who loves us unconditionally and promises to be faithful. Now, as a new mom, I know I face new challenges and many uncertainties in watching our son grow, but I know God has a plan for his life and for us as parents, and that gives me comfort. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." I wish to be baptized today and become a member of Westwood because Steve and I consider Westwood to be our church family. Since we started attending here, we have been mentored, encouraged, loved, and held accountable by so many of you. We have enjoyed opportunities to serve here, and we believe in what Westwood is doing, and we look forward to being a part of the future of this church.
Good morning. I think as I look back, I realized that the truths in my life that brought me to Christ are things I still think about and kind of work through day to day. It was when I was at camp as a teenager that I heard the message that we're built for relationship with Christ and nothing else truly satisfies us. And that really resonated with me. I was at a time in my life when I was, as a teenager looking for significance, looking for acceptance, and too often finding those in the wrong places. I was seeing the ways my peers were finding significance and acceptance, and I was experimenting with those things, and I knew it wasn't enough, and I knew it wasn't working. So when I heard this truth, that we're built for relationship with Christ and nothing else truly satisfies, that resonated deep within me. And I think I kind of needed that for the biblical principles of my family to overcome what I was seeing in my peers and what I was experiencing around me. So I gave my life to Christ as a teenager that summer at camp, and I wish I could say that I've found significance and acceptance in him ever since. But selfishly, I've always wanted to be accepted by peers or by society, and I've gone about that in the wrong way too often. I remember working as a young adult in Vancouver at a mountain bike store. I remember kind of moving into residence here at UNBC and looking for those things, looking for that acceptance in the wrong ways, in the wrong places. But God's been good. God's been faithful, and God's graciously provided me with a community and with a family that's kept me accountable and that's given me real, true friendship. Most of all, I've known and God's reminded me that He considers me a son, and that's just truly the greatest acceptance we can find. Selfishly, I've also tried to find significance or manufacture significance on my own in different ways. And I remember kind of going through university and looking at all these majors and considering all these careers for what turned out to be the wrong reasons, and eventually following what I knew to be God's call in my life, and now finding satisfaction there. So God's reminded me through that my efforts, my work is in vain. You know, those things either kind of fade away or they crash and burn. But what's truly significant is my work in his kingdom and what I do for his kingdom. And that has an eternal significance. God's proven to Catherine and I that when we seek him, when we seek to honor God with our decisions, he gives us a peace and a satisfaction that's deeper and greater than anything we could do on our own. One of the statements of Jesus that's always spoke to me is when he says, "I've come that they might have life and have it to the full." And I think that's such a good pitch for who Jesus is. And I've just been exploring that all my life. I think that full life is just such a big claim. And that's a claim that draws me back to Jesus, and it draws me back to his cross where he made that possible. He's made it clear to me again and again that he has a way for me to live in order to experience full life. And he has a plan for my life that will be full and that will be satisfying. So knowing that I'm accepted and can find significance as him is just kind of the foundation, but that full life is sort of the full picture of what he's done for us, what he's done for me. So really it's just a matter of, seeking him day to day and trusting him day to day that's truth and that's for real. So Catherine and I enjoy being a part of Westwood here. We believe in what's happening here. We believe God's working in and through this church. We enjoy serving here, worshiping here. We find fellowship and community here, a community that's great. There's so many Sundays where I love looking around, looking at kids just passionately praising God, and looking at our seasoned pilgrims doing the same, just passionately praising God. And that's just really encouraging to me. So I enjoy being a part of a church that has that. We know that this church has brought Jesus into our lives in a real way, and we want to be a part of bringing Jesus into the lives of people here and around Prince George, around the world, because we know that only in Jesus we can find life to the full. Thanks.